Cyclone Garance quickly intensifying as it heads towards Reunion. So this small cyclone intensifying rather quickly and certainly going to be delivering a significant punch to the Mascarene Islands over the next few days. Currently at 17.8 degrees south, 54.3 degrees east. Already intensifying through the categories, now at 80 miles per hour, category 1 hurricane equivalent. Estimated pressure 977 millibars as of 7 p.m. local time, Mauritius time, this February 26. It's moving east-southeast still at this point, about 7 miles per hour or 12 kilometers per hour, and is expected to turn further towards the south shortly. It is almost level with Reunion already in terms of longitude, so we expect that will happen soon. Here's its current position on the map, with its wind field extending out up to 105 nautical miles on the northeastern quadrant. That's about 180 kilometers. And it's still a fair distance away from the islands at the moment, but it is getting closer. 214 kilometers south of Tromelin, 362 from St. Denis, the main city on Reunion. St. Paul 370, Grand Bay 421, and Port Louis, Mauritius 424. Class 3 warnings have been issued for Mauritius, and an orange cyclone pre-alert in effect for Reunion, the whole island at this point, and we expect those warnings will be upgraded in due course. But Class 3 certainly a significant threat level there in Mauritius. So the track is still somewhat uncertain, especially with regards to timing, but expect to deliver a concentrated area of very strong winds to parts of Reunion on Thursday night and Friday. Even at this stage, small deviations in the track forecast could make a significant difference given the storm's small size, at least with its wind field. Mauritius, though, may still receive strong winds as well, especially further west, along with very heavy rainfall for anywhere caught within the core of the storm. It looks like it will be dropping very torrential rain, which has big potential for flash flooding. Our best guess forecast then for the next couple of days there, the wind field winding down as it passes the island, and by the weekend it dies off very quickly, somewhat under the influence of the much larger storm nearby, Cyclone Hyundai. But by the time we get into early next week, it will have sunk very far towards the south and out of shot, really. So 80 miles per hour right now is pretty much in line with Meteo France. JTWC a little bit behind at 70 miles per hour, though we do expect them to upgrade as well. The eye structure is pretty undeniable, and in fact 80 miles per hour by the time this goes out may even be a little bit conservative. It certainly looks like this storm will be revving up towards a pretty significant peak. Just how strong will it get is a big question mark. There's the forecast from Meteo France, and they're calling for the storm to strengthen almost all the way up until landfall, weakening a little bit as it does reach Reunion, and that again will be somewhat over some point over the course of Thursday, we think. But if the storm does stall a little bit, it could be delayed to Friday. In fact, when you look at this forecast from the JTWC, that actually has it moving more slowly, about 12 hours later than the Meteo France cone there, and calling for the storm to get to 100 knots, 115 miles per hour. That's category 3 equivalent on the Saffir-Simpson scale. GFS model supporting almost that, I think, and that's probably a high-end category 2 there on that forecast. But it does capitulate very quickly after it makes landfall in Reunion. Watching Hyundai there as well, a very large storm really impacting southern Madagascar and also moving on towards Mozambique on that model run. But here's a close-up of this storm making landfall in Reunion there, and then continuing southwards very quickly, moving on there and dying off, being pulled apart, Garance very quickly indeed. Here's the reflectivity view showing just how much rainfall is expected in the storm's core, huge amounts up until the landfall, and the way it capitulates there suggests that even on the southern side of Reunion there may not be as much rain as there will by some distance as expected on the northern side. Looking at Hyundai as well there whilst we're here, really dropping huge amounts over southwestern Madagascar there with very high rain rates, massive flooding concerns there too. And whether it moves on towards Mozambique later or not is still a question mark. Uncertainty still persists. Well, let's take a look for both storms at the total rainfall potential in the next 7 days. Look at the enormous amounts from Hyundai there in Madagascar, Mozambique as well, possibly getting 250 millimeters. But look at that, 50 inches, 50 in southwestern Madagascar. That is well over 1,000 millimeters. And for some areas at sea prior to landfall in Réunion for Garance, we're looking at 27 inches of rain there. That is getting towards 600-700 millimeters, but on the islands themselves the rain does tone down a little bit, but we're still looking at over 6 inches there for northern Réunion. That is over 150 millimeters of rainfall, and it could fall very quickly, which it's not always the amount of rain, sometimes it's the rain rate that can cause that flash flooding concern. Well, sea surface temperatures are still decent enough, plenty enough actually for the storm. These read a little bit low, converting to Celsius, that's around 28 to 29 degrees Celsius, probably one or two little spots pushing 30 degrees too, and it continues after landfall and further towards the south. So no real concerns at all there with energy. And wind shear isn't really present either. This storm has a very good environment right now in the near term. So let's take a look at it on satellite imagery. This is a real close-up here from EUMETSAT. This is Meteosat, I think, 11 that we're looking at right now, showing the viewpoint there. The storm's still moving quite decidedly further east, and we're going to watch every single movement on that, because if it does delay that turn towards the south, then it obviously implicates Mauritius a lot more. You can see in these latest frames we're just about to lose the light over the cyclones, and obviously Hyundai down there as well. Wind speed's probably somewhere around 60 miles per hour on that one, and with Garance, of course, we're looking at about 80 miles per hour, 120 kilometers per hour sustained. Here's some of the viewpoints from the Force 13 website and the general view of how it's been moving, and probably about, that's actually covering since yesterday there, that imagery, which gives you an idea of how quickly the storm has been developing. Look at those latest frames though, which is right up to date. The eye structure trying to really flesh itself out, the eye trying to appear more readily on that satellite imagery. It is definitely there underneath all of that cloud cover, and some of the enhanced infrared channels showing it, just a glimmer of it there before those latest frames trying to pop out. And obviously when that happens, this storm will really turn on the afterburners, we would expect, at least to a point, until it starts to hit some resistance when it gets close to Réunion. But certainly in terms of its motion right now, no hint of that southerly turn yet, which is obviously going to be very key into where exactly this storm lands, whether it will land on Réunion, Mauritius, or maybe even pass between the two, which still cannot be ruled out either at this point. And then it will also, the longer it's turning east there as well, that will also delay the timing for this landfall as well. Here's some radar imagery in the last few hours, showing that some rainfall from the storm's outer edges are already affecting the islands. Northern Mauritius there getting a significant lashing in those last few moments. Looking at world tropics, what's left of Ray and L2 out there in the South Pacific, and then swiveling across very quickly towards the Southwest Indian Ocean. There's Hyundai, Garance, and Bianca is dead now as well off Western Australia. And of course we've got Alfred, the strongest storm out there, Category 2, and Saru still persisting near Vanuatu.